They say Leo doesn't need help. They say Leo is the strongest one in the room. They say the lion walks alone. But they are wrong. Dead wrong. Because behind every radiant Leo smile, behind every magnetic presence, behind every head held high in pride, there is something most people never see. There is exhaustion. There is silence. And there is a heart that has learned to bleed quietly because the world only ever applauds the roar, not the pain behind it. Baba Vanga once said that the greatest strength often hides the deepest wounds, and in Leo's case she believed that the traits that make them kings and queens are the very things that build the prison of their solitude. Why do people admire Leo but not offer a hand when they fall? Why does the world cheer them on but vanish when they cry? Today we are going to unlock the 14 hidden truths Baba Vanga left behind. Truths that reveal why Leo faces life alone and what it truly means to carry a crown no one else can hold. Some of what you're about to hear may shake you. Some of it may explain the parts of your life you've never understood, even if you are not a Leo. And the final secret, the last one in this journey, may change the way you see Leo energy forever. So I ask you now, are you ready to see behind the smile? Are you ready to understand the soul behind the fire? Then come with me. Let's begin the unraveling. Comment if you've ever felt like you had to stay strong for everyone, even when you were breaking inside. Let me know your zodiac sign and birth date below. This space is for all of us. Part 1. Secret 1. The illusion of strength. To most people, Leo seems unbreakable. They walk with presence. They speak with conviction, and wherever they go, they carry an invisible fire that makes others feel safe just by being near them. Leo becomes the one others look to when things fall apart. The one who says, "I'll handle it." The one who never seems to fall, even when the ground beneath them is already cracking. But here's what few people understand, that strength, it's not always real. Or rather, it's not always whole. Many Leos were raised being told they were the strong one, the child who never cried, the teenager who always held it together, the adult who others leaned on even when they had no one to lean on themselves. Somewhere along the way, Leo learned this silent rule: if I show weakness, I lose everything. So they built the illusion, they put on the smile. They learned how to lead with dignity, how to carry everyone else's weight, even if it meant slowly falling under their own. Baba Vanga once called this the crown of light and silence. The light makes people admire you, but the silence, it makes them blind to your pain. People stop asking, "Are you okay?" because you've taught them not to. You've taught them to believe the illusion, even when inside you're quietly hoping someone will see past it. That's the tragedy. Leos become so good at acting strong that no one ever suspects they might need saving. And this is why no one helps. Because everyone thinks they're fine, not realizing that sometimes the strongest person in the room is also the most tired. Leo isn't pretending to be strong because they want to lie. They're pretending because it's what they think they have to do in order to be loved. But true strength isn't silence. It's honesty. It's being able to say, "I'm not okay," and trusting that someone will still stay. If you've ever felt like you had to be strong for everyone, even when you were falling apart inside, tell me, has the world only ever praised your light but ignored your shadows? Because if that resonates with you, you're not alone. And maybe, just maybe, it's time someone finally saw through the illusion. Life lesson. Real courage is not about never falling apart. It's about knowing when to stop hiding and let someone see you fully. Even lions deserve rest. Even kings need to cry. Part 1, Secret 2. The leader's isolation. There's a reason people always expect Leo to lead. It's not just because they're charismatic. It's because they know how to carry chaos with composure. In times of crisis, Leo becomes the one others look to. They know how to speak with calm, how to inspire, how to make even fear seem manageable. They carry the energy of a ruler, the one who holds the kingdom together when everyone else wants to run. But this leadership comes with a silent cost. Because when you're the one who holds everyone together, who holds you, Baba Vanga believed that Leos are born into a karmic contract of leadership. People follow them, people praise them, but very few ever stop and ask, "Do you need anything?" It's an unconscious dynamic. Everyone assumes that because Leo is the leader, they're also emotionally invincible. So when Leo begins to struggle, people pull away. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know what to do when their leader breaks. Some even feel uncomfortable, disappointed, or unsure how to act. They've built Leo up in their mind as someone who can do it all. So the moment Leo shows cracks, people disappear. This is the loneliness of leadership. Leo ends up surrounded by admirers, followers, and even dependents, but very few equals. Very few people they can fall apart in front of without fear of losing respect. It's a strange paradox. The more capable you are, the more alone you become. And Leo, with all their loyalty and heart, ends up pouring into others without ever getting poured back into. It's not because people don't love them. It's because people forget that even the sun needs warmth too. They don't see that Leo burns for others, but rarely lets anyone light a fire for them. If you've ever been the one who had to stay strong for everyone else, even when you were breaking, have you noticed how no one ever offered you the same strength in return? Let me know if that speaks to your experience. I read your comments because I know how many of you are out there carrying others but feeling like no one carries you. You're not imagining it. Leadership can be lonely, but it doesn't always have to be. Life lesson: true leadership isn't about carrying others alone. It's about allowing yourself to be carried when the weight becomes too much. Even a lion must learn that asking for help doesn't dethrone you, it humanizes you. Part 1. Secret 3: Pride over pain. For Leo, pride is sacred. It's not arrogance. It's not about being better than others. It's about dignity, about standing tall even when life tries to push you down. But what happens when that pride becomes a wall so high that no one can climb over it to help you? Baba Vanga believed that Leo's greatest strength is also their most painful burden. They would rather suffer in silence than risk being seen as weak. Even when they're hurting, Leo will smile. Even when they're overwhelmed, they'll say, "I'm fine, don't worry." Because to them, admitting they need help feels like losing control. That control means everything. They've worked so hard to build a life, an identity, a presence to be admired, respected, even envied. So to say, "I'm not okay," feels like betrayal, not just to others, but to themselves. And the world believes them. People take Leo's strength at face value. They think if they needed help, they'd say something. But Leo doesn't, because they've trained themselves not to. And so they become the ones everyone turns to, but no one checks on. Friends assume they're always okay. Family sees them as the strong one. Coworkers praise their confidence. But inside, Leo may be collapsing from the pressure. Here's the secret no one wants to say aloud. Sometimes the people who look the most put together are the ones closest to falling apart. It's not that Leo never feels pain, it's that they've taught themselves that expressing it makes them weak, and they cannot bear the thought of being pitied. That's why they'd rather carry it alone. But Baba Vanga warned, this kind of pride can turn into poison. It keeps love out. It pushes help away. It turns Leo into a glowing statue, admired, praised, but untouchable and often unreachable. Have you ever swallowed your pain just to protect your image? Have you ever felt like falling apart, but told yourself you couldn't afford to? Tell me, because if that's you, then maybe you've been wearing the Leo mask, even if you weren't born under the sign. And if you are Leo, then it's time someone told you you don't have to hurt alone to be respected. Life lesson: pride can protect you, but it can also imprison you. The real mark of strength isn't how long you can suffer in silence. It's how bravely you can say, "I need someone right now," and trust that the right ones will stay. Part 1, Secret 4: The Spotlight Trap. Leo was born to shine. It's not a metaphor, it's their nature. They light up rooms without trying. They speak with warmth, move with purpose, and radiate a presence that's hard to ignore. But that kind of light casts a shadow too. Baba Vanga called this the spotlight trap. It's when people see your brightness and assume you don't need anything else. They assume you're successful. They assume you're adored. They assume you're untouchable. So when Leo struggles, it doesn't register. How could someone who's always the center of attention ever feel invisible? But that's exactly what happens. People confuse visibility with invulnerability. They think Leo's always surrounded by love, they must be fine. Or worse, they get envious. Leo's confidence, their energy, their success, it triggers something in others. Jealousy, insecurity, quiet resentment. And suddenly, people start to withhold support. Not because Leo did anything wrong, but because they're shining too bright for others to handle. This is the trap. Leo is celebrated, applauded, and admired from a distance, but no one comes closer. No one dares to see past the performance. And Leo knows this, so they keep up the show. They keep smiling, keep leading, keep glowing, even when they're running on fumes. Because what happens if they dim their light? Will people still stay, or will the applause fade? This is the question that haunts Leo. And so they continue not because they're thriving, but because they're afraid to find out what happens if they stop performing. If you've ever felt like the more you shine, the more alone you become, that's not in your head. That's the price the spotlight demands. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked like you had it all, but secretly felt like no one really saw you? If that resonates, share your story below. This is a space where we stop applauding long enough to really see each other. Life lesson. The world may love your performance, but real connection only begins when the curtain drops. Don't let the spotlight blind you to the people who are willing to sit with you in the dark. Part 1. Secret 5. Selective trust and closed doors. Leo may appear open, warm, and social to everyone they meet. They tell stories with flair, they laugh loud, and their energy fills a space with ease. But when it comes to letting people into their inner world, it's a different story. Because despite their magnetic personality, Leos are incredibly selective about who they trust. Baba Vanga believed that Leo's heart is like a sacred temple. Not everyone gets access. Not everyone deserves to see what's really behind the confidence. And often, that selectiveness is born out of betrayal. Many Leos have experienced being let down not once but repeatedly. By people they believed would stand by them. By people they loved deeply. By those who, when Leo needed them most, disappeared. So now they guard their heart, not with anger, but with caution. They don't shut everyone out. They just don't let anyone all the way in. And the result, most people around Leo only see the surface. The leader, the entertainer, the one who always has a plan. But when life gets hard, really hard, the doors close. Leo retreats inward, not because they don't want help, but because they don't believe anyone will truly show up. So what does the world do in return? It watches, but doesn't act. It assumes Leo is fine. It respects their space. And that respect becomes silence. Baba Vanga said Leo's silence is often mistaken for strength, but it's really a quiet form of grief. Grief for all the times they did open up, and were left alone anyway. If you've ever kept your deepest pain locked behind a smile, not because you wanted to lie, but because it was safer than being let down again, you're not alone. And if you're a Leo, maybe you've convinced yourself that you're just private, when really you're just tired of being hurt. Let me ask you, have you ever pushed someone away, hoping deep down they'd fight harder to stay? Because if so, your story matters here. Tell me about it. Life lesson. Not everyone deserves access to your heart, but someone does. Trust isn't about letting everyone in. It's about recognizing who's willing to stay even when you've stopped performing. Part 1. Secret 6. Energy that intimidates. Leo doesn't try to be intimidating. They just are. Not because they're mean, not because they want to overpower anyone, but because their energy is so intense, so commanding, that others don't always know how to respond. Baba Vanga once said Leo carries the fire of the sun. It warms many, but it can also burn. Leo walks into a room and immediately shifts the energy. Their confidence is palpable. Their voice holds weight, and their presence can silence the noise of everyone else. But here's the downside, that power can make others hesitate. People may admire Leo, yes, but they often admire from a distance. They assume Leo already knows what they're doing. They assume their help isn't needed. Or worse, they assume their help won't be appreciated because Leo's energy says, "I've got this," even if inside they're overwhelmed and barely holding it together. This kind of energy doesn't create connection, it creates awe. And while awe can attract followers, it rarely builds true support. Baba Vanga warned that Leo's natural fire can be misinterpreted. What they mean as passion, others receive as pressure. What they intend as focus, others hear as criticism. And so people back away. Not because Leo did anything wrong, but because the space around them feels too big, too bold, too unapproachable. So when Leo needs help, real help, many just stand on the sidelines, unsure how to step in. They think I'll probably get it wrong, or they don't need me. So they stay silent, and Leo once again burns alone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been told you're too much, that you're intimidating, when all you were doing was being fully yourself? If so, this space is for you. Share that experience, because your light deserves to be seen, not just admired, but understood. Life lesson. Your fire isn't the problem, but how you carry it matters. Let your passion invite others in, not push them away. The right people won't fear your intensity, they'll feel safe in your warmth. Part 1. Secret 7. Fear of depending on anyone. Of all the secrets Leo hides, this one might be the hardest to admit even to themselves. They fear depending on others. Not because they don't value connection, not because they want to be alone, but because somewhere along the line they learned that leaning on someone is a risk. And if you've ever leaned on the wrong person, you know exactly what that risk feels like. Baba Vanga believed that Leo's independence isn't always strength, sometimes it's defense. They've been burned before. They've opened up only to be let down. They've needed someone only to be told, "You're strong. You'll figure it out." And so now, they don't ask. Even when the burden is too heavy, Leo will carry it alone. Because to them, needing someone feels like giving up control, and giving up control feels like losing power. And losing power, that's something Leo has vowed never to experience again. So they build a system. They plan everything. They stay 5 steps ahead. They lead, they organize, they take care of everyone else. Because if they're the ones in control, they'll never have to feel helpless again. But here's the cost. No one knows when Leo is hurting, because they never say it. No one knows when they're exhausted, because they never slow down. No one knows when they're scared, because they never show it. And so no one helps. Baba Vanga described this as the silent exile, a place where Leo chooses solitude out of survival, not preference. But even a lion proud and powerful isn't meant to carry everything alone. If you've ever avoided asking for help even when you needed it most, not because you didn't want support, but because you couldn't bear the thought of someone letting you down again, you understand this deeply. I'd like to hear from you. Was there ever a time you needed someone and stayed silent? Your voice matters here. This is where the silence ends. Life lesson: dependence is not weakness, it's trust in motion. And trust doesn't make you smaller. It means you're brave enough to let someone in even when you've been hurt before. Part 1. Conclusion. The fire burns even in silence. We often admire Leo for their fire, their brilliance, their fearless way of walking through life like they were born to lead. And maybe they were. But what we forget, what we so often miss, is that behind the power, behind the applause, behind the performance, there is a human who's tired of pretending, a heart that is loyal to everyone but rarely protected in return. Baba Vanga didn't call Leo the ruler of the zodiac because they're untouchable. She called them that because they carry a kind of silent nobility, a nobility that often cost them connection. And now you've seen it, haven't you? The illusion of strength, the leader's loneliness, the pride that becomes a wall, the spotlight that blinds others to your pain, the locked doors, the fire that pushes people back, the fear of depending on anyone. These are not flaws, they are learned survival. But survival isn't the same as living. Leo, your soul wasn't made just to endure. It was made to be seen, to be supported, to be softened without being broken. You are not meant to shine for others while burning yourself out in the dark. So here's what I ask. If you've seen yourself in these words, if you've lived even one of these truths, don't stay silent. Share your experience in the comments. Tell me when you first realized you were carrying too much. Tell me how long you've kept it all inside. This space is for you, not the image of you, but the real you. And in part 2, we go even deeper. The final 7 secrets will reveal truths that even the strongest Leos often deny, including one final revelation from Baba Vanga that may change the way you see your entire past. So don't miss it, because sometimes what frees us is not being stronger, it's being real. Closing note: you've worn the crown long enough. In part 2, you'll learn how to carry it differently, not alone, not in silence, but with the grace of someone who finally lets others in. Part 2. Opening when the crown feels heavier. You made it here, and that already means something. Because part 1 didn't just describe Leo's reality, it revealed the hidden weight of their identity. And if you're still here, that means you recognized it. You felt the fire flicker. You felt the silence. You remembered the moments when no one asked how you were doing because they assumed you were fine. And maybe you stopped asking too. But let me tell you something. Just because you carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. Just because you shine in front of others doesn't mean you don't cry in private. Baba Vanga believed that Leo's greatest transformation doesn't happen when they roar the loudest, but when they finally whisper, "I need help." That whisper, that is where healing begins. In this final part of our journey, we're going to uncover 7 more truths, each one more revealing than the last. You'll understand why people misread your confidence, why your high standards push love away, why control became your safety net and your cage. And most of all, you'll uncover the prophecy Baba Vanga left behind, one that speaks directly to the soul of the Leo who has suffered in silence for too long. This is not just about understanding why people don't help you. This is about learning how to let them try. So take a breath, set the mask down. The lion doesn't have to perform today. You're here, you're safe. And this part is for the Leo behind the crown. Part 2, Secret 8, Misread confidence. Confidence is Leo's signature. They carry it like a birthright, walking with their chest open, their eyes steady, their voice certain. It's what makes people listen. It's what makes people trust them. And sometimes, it's what makes people back away. Because confidence, when misunderstood, can look like arrogance. Baba Vanga warned that this is one of Leo's most painful ironies. What they use to protect themselves is the very thing that convinces others they don't need protecting. Leo's boldness, their decisive nature, their calm under pressure, it's all real. But it's not always complete. What people don't see is what's behind the curtain, the insecurity they never share, the nights they overthink what they said, the fear that if they don't appear strong, they'll lose the love they worked so hard to earn. So Leo keeps the mask on, not because they're lying, but because the world has rewarded them for their performance and punished them for their vulnerability. And over time, Leo becomes fluent in the language of strength, but emotionally starved for understanding. Friends mistake their directness for superiority. Family assumes they're fine. Coworkers don't check in because how could someone that composed be falling apart? But the truth is simple. Confidence isn't always pride. Sometimes it's armor. Sometimes it's the only thing holding them together. Baba Vanga said the lion's roar is powerful, but it's the silence that tells the truth. So many Leos want to be seen not for the image, but for the heart behind it. But the world keeps clapping, keeps expecting, keeps missing the subtle signs that Leo is struggling to hold it all up. If you've ever had someone misunderstand your strength, if they've called you too confident when really you were just trying not to fall apart, I invite you to share that moment. Because strength and softness are not opposites. And being brave doesn't mean pretending you're okay. Sometimes being brave means saying, I need someone to see me, even when I'm still standing. Life lesson, your confidence is real, but so is your need for grace. You don't have to let go of who you are. You just have to let someone see the whole version of you, not just the polished one. Part 2. Secret 9, Intimidating standards. Leo doesn't just want things to be good, they want them to be excellent. And not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. Whether it's the way they show up in a relationship, the way they work, the way they speak, Leo holds a silent standard. If it's going to have my name on it, it better be done right. That perfectionism can be inspiring. It pushes people to be better. It raises the bar. But Baba Vanga believed this trait, when left unchecked, becomes a hidden reason people don't offer help. Because when someone always expects excellence, others begin to feel like they'll never measure up. Leo doesn't mean to do it. They don't walk around judging people, but their attention to detail, their unspoken expectations, their habit of refining everything they touch. It creates pressure. Helpers start to pull away not out of laziness, but out of fear. Fear of disappointing Leo. Fear of not doing it the right way. Fear of being corrected. And over time, Leo doesn't even realize it's happening. They just notice that people stop volunteering. People stop offering. People say, you're better at it than me anyway. And Leo is left doing everything alone. Baba Vanga called this the cost of excellence. A life where everything looks flawless, but no one is close enough to help build it with you. And sometimes Leo feels frustrated. They wonder, why don't people show up for me the way I show up for them? The truth is, they tried, but they didn't feel like they could get it right. So they backed away. If you've ever heard yourself say, it's just easier if I do it myself, ask yourself, have you made it safe for people to help you? Or have you accidentally made your standards more important than their effort? Let me know what you think. Have you been let down by others, or have you, without realizing it, made it hard for others to step in? This is a space for honest reflection, not shame. Life lesson: high standards are powerful, but connection is more important than control. Perfection doesn't build loyalty. Grace does. Part 2. Secret 10. The need to control everything. Leo doesn't like chaos. They don't like uncertainty. And they definitely don't like depending on things or people they can't trust. So what do? They take control. Not in an aggressive way. Not in a way that tries to dominate, but in a way that says, I need to know this won't fall apart because if it does, I'm the one who will have to fix it. Baba Vanga described this as the silent contract Leo makes with the world. They step up, take charge, make the plans, lead the way. Because deep down, they don't believe anyone else will. But over time, this protective instinct becomes a barrier. Leo starts to micromanage. They redo things others already did. They step in just to make sure, but what others feel is, you don't trust me. And so people back off. They stop offering help not because they're unwilling, but because they feel like they're in the way. Leo ends up doing everything, again, and it only confirms what they feared. No one can do it like I can, but that's not the truth. That's the result of never giving people the space to grow beside you. Baba Vanga believed that Leo's need for control isn't ego, it's self-protection. When they care deeply about something, they want to protect it at all costs. But when you hold everything too tightly, you leave no room for support, no room for collaboration, no room for trust. And eventually, no one around you feels empowered to help even when they want to. If you've ever looked at your life and thought, why do I always end up carrying everything? Ask yourself this, are you carrying it because no one offered or because you never let them try? And if that question hits home, tell me. This is a space where we start to see the difference between responsibility and fear. Life lesson. Control feels safe, but it can cost you connection. Leadership is not about doing it all. It's about trusting the people who are willing to stand beside you, even if they don't do it your way. Part 2. Secret 11. Loyalty as a wall. Leo is one of the most loyal signs in the zodiac. When they love fully. When they commit, they stay through the storms, through the mess, through the silence. Baba Vanga once said, a Leo's loyalty is not a gift, it's a vow. And once that vow is made, it's not easily broken. But here's the secret that loyalty can become a wall. Leo doesn't trust easily, and they don't open up to just anyone. To Leo, vulnerability is sacred, and it's only shared with those who've earned it. They don't just want someone to be present during the good times. They want to know you'll be there when the light goes out, when the crown is off, when the lion is no longer roaring, but bleeding. So they wait, they test, they protect. And in doing so, they close themselves off to anyone who hasn't proven themselves. Baba Vanga believed that this intense filter of trust, while noble, can become isolating because most people won't pass the test. Not because they're bad, but because Leo's standards for loyalty are forged from past betrayals and past scars. So people who genuinely want to help never get close enough. They sense the distance. They feel the gate is locked, and they walk away not because they don't care, but because they feel uninvited. And Leo, they interpret that silence as confirmation. See, no one ever stays. But here's the tragedy, many would have stayed if only they were let in. If you've ever felt like your heart was a fortress, not because you wanted to be cold, but because you've been hurt too many times, I want to hear from you. Have you ever kept someone out, not because they didn't care, but because you couldn't risk being broken again? That's not selfishness, that's survival. But survival isn't the same as living. Life lesson, loyalty is sacred, but if you guard your heart too tightly, love can't reach it. Not everyone deserves access, but someone does. And when you let the right one in, you'll learn that real loyalty doesn't have to be earned through suffering. Part 2. Secret 12. The Performer's Mask. Leo knows how to show up. Even when their world is falling apart behind closed doors, they still smile, still deliver, still shine. It's not fake, it's survival. Baba Vanga described this as the performer's mask, the ability Leo has to walk through pain with poise, to light up a room even when their heart is dim, to carry everyone else because they believe falling apart in public would mean letting others down. You see, Leo doesn't wear this mask because they want attention. They wear it because somewhere along the way, they were taught this message. If I fall, everyone else will too. So they become the strong one, the motivator, the protector, the one who never breaks, even when they're breaking. And it works. People believe the image, they praise the confidence. They rely on Leo's strength, but never ask if that strength is real today or just borrowed from tomorrow's energy. Baba Vanga warned that this mask worn too long becomes heavy. not just emotionally, but spiritually. Because when no one ever sees your pain, you start to believe you're not allowed to have any. And that's when Leo starts to fade. They still perform, still deliver, still say, "I'm okay." But inside, they're disconnected, lonely, running on empty. And no one sees it because they've never let anyone see. If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, "No one really knows how hard this has been," then maybe you've worn the mask too. Let's be honest here. Have you ever smiled your way through something that was tearing you apart? Write about it. This is the one space where you don't have to keep performing. Life lesson: showing up for others doesn't mean disappearing from yourself. Your light is real, but you don't have to shine all the time to be loved. The people who are meant for you will stay even when the performance ends. Part 2. Secret 13, the silent suffering. Some people cry loudly when they're in pain. Some reach out. Some fall apart where everyone can see. But Leo suffers in silence. Baba Vanga believed this was one of the heaviest karmic patterns Leo carries, the belief that expressing pain makes you weaker. So they stay composed, they hold their posture, they keep performing, even when they feel like they're drowning inside. To the outside world, Leo seems fine. They go to work, they check in on others, they still make people laugh, they still lead, still inspire. But when the doors close and they're finally alone, that's when the weight comes down. Because they've spent all day pretending they're strong for their friends, for their family, for their partner, for the world, and not once did anyone ask, "Who's carrying you?" Baba Vanga described this as the lion's invisible wounds. Not because they aren't real, but because Leo has trained themselves to hide them so well that even the people who love them the most can't see the bleeding. And what's worse, when Leo does try to open up, it doesn't always go well. They're met with disbelief or brushed aside. But you're always okay. You're so strong, you'll bounce back. So Leo learns to stop speaking, to stop asking, to keep their suffering sacred and silent. But silence turns into isolation, and isolation turns into exhaustion, and eventually that fire inside begins to flicker. If this speaks to something you've lived, say so. Have you ever kept your suffering to yourself because the world was too used to your strength? If so, you don't need to carry that alone anymore. Not here. Life lesson: silence may feel safe, but healing needs a voice. You don't have to break loudly to deserve help. Sometimes the most courageous thing you'll ever do is whisper, "I'm not okay," and let someone stay. Part 2. Secret 14, the lone throne. Leo is the king, the queen, the ruler of their world. Born to lead, born to shine, born to inspire. But Baba Vanga once said, even the throne can become a cage. Because what no one tells Leo is that power, real power, is isolating. The more you succeed, the more people expect you to never fall. The more you lead, the less anyone dares to question how you're really doing. Leo becomes the symbol of strength, not the story of it. They are admired, respected, even worshipped. But not often held, not often seen, and rarely truly understood. Baba Vanga called this the lone throne. It is the place Leo rises to when they've done everything right, when they've carried others, performed for the world, upheld their dignity, and never complained. But when they finally look around, they realize they're standing at the top alone. People still clap, still follow, still say, "I wish I had your strength." But no one sits beside them, because the aura they've built of independence, of excellence, of royalty has created an invisible wall between themselves and the very support they crave. And so the lion stays silent, looking out over the kingdom they've built, knowing deep down that the crown is heavy and their heart is tired. If you've ever felt like everyone counts on you, but no one truly carries you, if you've ever been celebrated but not cared for, if you've ever sat on your own throne and wondered why no one stood beside you, this secret was written for you. Tell me, when was the moment you realized you were leading alone? This is your space to speak what others never saw. Life lesson: being the strongest in the room is admirable, but true power is not ruling alone. It's allowing others to sit at your side not as followers, but as equals. Even kings need a kingdom. Even queens need someone who sees the soul behind the crown. Part 2, conclusion, the heart behind the crown. So now you know. You've walked through all 14 truths. Not surface level advice, not cliches, but real raw reasons why Leo the leader, the lion, the light, often walks alone. Not because they aren't loved, not because they aren't worthy, but because the world sees their glow and forgets that even the sun needs warmth too. Baba Vanga believed that Leo's journey isn't about being perfect. It's about learning to soften without dimming, to lead without isolating, to open without fear of being broken. Maybe you saw yourself in these secrets. Maybe you saw someone you love. But either way, I hope something in these words reminded you of this truth. Strength is not about carrying everything alone. Strength is allowing someone else to help you carry it. The performer can take off the mask. The king can rest his crown. The queen can step off the throne and still be royal. Because real power isn't found in solitude. It's found in connection. And real healing doesn't begin when you prove you don't need anyone. It begins when you finally say, I deserve to be held too. So I want to ask you this. Which of these 14 truths resonated with you the most? Was there a moment you recognized yourself? A chapter that felt like it was written from your story? Leave it in the comments. Let this be a space where the lion doesn't have to roar, where being seen is more important than being strong. And if this video spoke to something deep inside, you don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Send it to the Leo who's always been there for everyone but may have forgotten how to be there for themselves. And most importantly, if you want to continue discovering the wisdom, healing, and spiritual depth of your zodiac sign, subscribe to Leo Zodiac Power. This isn't just a channel, it's a space where the strength of the lion finally gets the compassion it's always given to others. Because here you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be honest. And that is enough.